Hello my friends, and welcome to the Inspiration Collection Network Artist Pathway Series. My name is Perez Zapita, and I am a traveling, performing fine artist and art educator. And I have put together this video along with a collection of lessons and tutorials that can act as a guide for those of you who are interested in becoming artists yourselves. And this information is meant for artists of all levels, even if you're an aspiring artist with zero experience. This video condenses 10 years of art training in 10 minutes and explains the magic behind the elements and principles of art that can immediately take your art to the next level. When studying art, most art students spend a ridiculous amount of time writing about the elements and principles of art, but many find themselves not being able to put them in practice. This video is meant to catch you up on everything that you need to know to be able to master drawing. And it all begins with the most vital element of art, line. What most people don't understand is that each line and each linear interaction helps to define the reality that you are trying to capture. The line quality and the moments where lines interact and overlap are the foundation of creating the illusion of depth. We generally begin each drawing with the simplest lines that we can add as we search for the subject. And then we add that secondary layer of detail where the lines interact and help to clearly describe your subject and how three-dimensional it is. This is primarily done through interpositional lines and shapes, which is just another fancy way of saying overlapping lines. When you overlap lines, it clarifies the narrative of which parts are in front or behind one another. And you are in luck because there's only 3 curves that we use: the straight, the C curve, and the S curve. Secret number 4 from the Fundamental Drawing Secrets Master Course helps you to see the exploration of these curves put in action. So the concept of line is not just a word for you to memorize, it's actually the practice and skill of reading this language. The better you get at reading each of these curves and understanding the way that they interact, the stronger your drawings are going to become. And of course, this is explained way more in depth in that video, but you may realize that I drew a lot of lines that don't actually exist. These are called imaginary lines. And as an artist, you have to be able to look past the images that you are drawing and find these imaginary lines and shapes that make up the simplest version of the image. This doesn't just help us describe the world in our works, it helps us to understand it. The better you get at finding these shapes, the better you'll become at actually understanding what's happening either inside of the figure that you're drawing or behind it or around it. Which means that drawing helps you to develop an analytical eye, like a sort of X-ray vision that you can use to create your works. And this particular skill takes a while to develop. And if that wasn't enough, another aspect of line is line quality, which describes a whole other area of control that you have over your drawing. How hard, soft, sharp, or blended your line work is helps to develop the idea of depth and emphasis. And an important detail that I want you to remember is that not everything has to be clearly defined. As a matter of fact, certain details and certain lines can be blurred or incomplete, like the line between the middle and ring finger in this drawing, by utilizing the power of suggestion. The main goal behind representational drawing is creating the illusion of depth on a flat surface, and this is done by including enough information that helps to suggest the reality. One of the tricks to becoming advanced at the art of drawing is being able to use the least amount of lines to help the viewers perceive that illusion of depth. Which also brings us to the importance of edges. The 4 main lines or edges that you use are hard, soft, sharp, and blended. And the correct combination of these helps to explain three-dimensional form and space. A great artist knows that not every single line has to be perfectly sharp or dark. One of your main tasks is going to be learning to understand when to use which type of line. Soft blended lines are usually used in shadow transitions describing curved areas. And even though the outline could potentially be sharp all the way around, you'll notice in this drawing that I left some of the areas in the outline slightly blurred, and I did the same thing for the left eye. This is one of the decisions that can help to increase that illusion of depth. This is called emphasis. So as you can see, it's not just about placing the lines on the paper or the canvas. It's about choosing the most accurate form of that line to represent your subject. This is one of the many things that I cover in depth in the Fundamental Drawing Secrets Master Course, which I created as a full guide for aspiring artists who want to understand the full process behind drawing and who want to master the skills necessary for painting and for creating their own unique artwork. And all of this simply starts with understanding how to use lines correctly. From there, we put all the lines together to create our shapes. We will have light shapes, shadow shapes, and structural shapes. You want to get really good at recognizing these shapes in your references and making sure to use the correct line quality when putting them together. As you can see, in this abdominal study, taken directly from my course, I use specific line quality to differentiate between the outlines and the shadow edges, and also the difference between cast shadows and natural shadows. When you understand how to read these lines and capture them accurately, you begin to intensify that illusion of depth and three-dimensional space. With access to the full course, you're able to follow along each step of this process in real time. Now, from here, we go into light and shadow shapes, which come together to create three-dimensional form. You might be tempted to do very intricate and complicated shading, but all you really need is two tones, the light area and the shadow area. Making this decision in your artwork is going to make a huge difference even when you get to painting, because colors are just another level of representing value. And even though most organic things are round in nature, you want to experiment with the idea of using planes as you develop your understanding of light and shadow shapes. This helps to train your mind to understand what you're drawing as a three-dimensional form rather than a flat surface. So when you get to actually developing rounded organic figures, you're able to interpret that three-dimensional illusion and help your viewers perceive depth on the flat surface of your drawing. And this also applies to painting. Even when using color, you want your priority to be to depict the correct values. I use this every time that I do any type of figure drawing or painting, taking my time to quickly separate the light shapes from the shadow shapes and then coming back in and refining those areas to add blending, details, proper transitions, and bouncing light. Following this formula helps to strengthen the three-dimensional aspect of your work, and it is all based on your understanding of line, shape, form, and value. The more skilled you become, the easier it'll be for you to understand three-dimensional form and how to depict it accurately in your work. You can find each of these sketch studies in my guided lesson library. And once you master this process with paper and pencil, you can then transition to using painting. And to succeed in painting, you have to handle color as you would regular value. The darks sink further into the surface you're drawing on, and the lights rise towards you. Now, texture is a hyper-focused depiction of the form. By using the correct lights and darks, you're expressing the surface you are recreating with more and more accuracy. And usually, everything that has texture has a certain pattern to it, and that is something you will learn to recognize as you study reality. I created the Fundamental Drawing Secrets Master Course to give you everything that you need in order to master the art of drawing. And I have made one of the most important secrets from that course available in the free drawing masterclass. meant to help you unlock your ability to see the linear language that we use to draw, and also the measurements that we use to put together our figures. And that, my friends, was 10 years of art training in 10 minutes. Hopefully, you see just about how much work goes into creating a work of art, but at least now you understand that anyone can do it. It mainly depends on how much you're willing to put into it. And you never know. You start with a simple drawing, and you'll open the door for life to take you to all sorts of amazing places. The main thing that you need is faith and the determination to make your ambitions a reality. One simple decision can change your entire life, so don't let anything stop you from reaching for what you want and achieving your goals. Thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next video.